Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Nigel Harpur, all the way from Kent in the United Kingdom. Am I saying everything correctly so far?
Kent is the county where I live. Maidstone is the town.
Oh, yes, sir. Maidstone in Kent. Alrighty.
That's it, yeah.
We usually spotlight local musicians here from Texas on this segment of the show, but we had to invite you, and we were dying to make sure that you came on board because our hot sauce has never been outside of the nation until you purchase some, and we know we've had some troubles getting it over there for you, and I'm going to kick the post office's butt if it doesn't get over there in the next week. Yeah, yes, sir. Oh, my goodness. Yes, sir. Well, I'll definitely keep you updated, and I will be checking it every single day until it gets there because this coronavirus sure has affected quite a lot of things. But
same here. All the deliveries are. I mean, the delivery guys, to be honest, they're great. I mean, they're still doing their job, and they turn up, but you have to allow them a few days more than you would have done before. They've got a lot of work on.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's true. That's absolutely true. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you grew up in the music world and your influences a little bit?
Really started a long time ago when I was about 8 or 9 years old. My sister got married, and her new husband, my brother-in-law, had a younger sister who had a really actually terrible guitar, but she didn't get on with learning to play it, so we were there one day, and she said, "Why don't you have it?" So I got given this guitar, and then sort of took it from there on my own, really. And eventually, I started to get quite sort of reasonable for a self-taught guy. And my mum, by chance, had a friend at work whose husband taught the guitar, so I learnt sort of finger-picking kind of guitar music, really. What they used to call back in those days contemporary folk music. By the time I was about 13, I was actually, I guess, a bit of a prodigy, really. I took to it really, really well, learned a lot, and then from then on, and then I heard the blues, then I heard some Texas rock and roll, and then I heard some Frank Zappa, who had a big effect on my life. And really, from then on, I moved more into jazzy, rocky fusion scene that was going on, with a folk band through to a Jamaican reggae band and funk bands and rock bands and all, just about every kind of music, really. I played in bands and I was determined to make that my living, but like many musicians, it wasn't enough money to pay the mortgage, so I had to get a job.
Yeah, sir. Well, that doesn't affect the music quality at all. When we heard your album Collage, it was amazing. Like you said, being as you would call yourself a prodigy, you can definitely hear it, and especially hearing all the influences you were just saying right now, you can tell between all the jazz, salsa, folk, rock, everything thrown in there. It's really phenomenal, and I enjoyed the album thoroughly.
But it really was a labour of love, really. I'd been involved in so many projects over the years, and I'd never actually got down to actually releasing a whole album of just my own stuff. I was in a really good guitar duo with a guy who I knew from many, many years ago in England, who's been living in the States for many years. He came back to England for a little while because his dad was sick, and we had a little duo together. So when he went back to America, I think he's in Nevada somewhere now. Once that finished, that's about 5-6 years ago, I thought, well, if I don't get this album done soon, it's never going to happen. So I just stopped doing everything else that I was doing and did nothing but that. I guess it took me about 2 years to actually, from having the idea to actually finishing it. I did the production, I did the master, I did all the studio side of it as well. Because in between, in the long gap, because I'm getting old, I also became a sound engineer. Toured around the world, never to America, sadly. I was able to finally put it all to some use for me instead of other people.
Yes, well, I could definitely tell it was very handcrafted by yourself, because although there are so many influences and different styles in your album, honestly, I heard the whole thing from start to finish. It was a fantastic hearing. And you could definitely tell that you had a very good handle on everything, because as it ranges throughout the album, you can hear your style prominently in every single track, and it was nothing short of professional.
If it makes me smile while I'm doing it, I hope it'll make someone else smile while they're listening to it. That's basically it.
Yes, sir. Well, that sounds fantastic. That's the best way to write music, and that shows why your music has such a good touch and a good flow to everything. And you can listen to to Nigel Harpur's album Collage from start to finish without noticing that the album has lasted you as long as it does, because you never get tired of hearing the music. It's a very beautiful album. It has a lot of technique in it, and like Nigel told us himself here today, he is hands on for the mixing and the mastering and the production, and it just came out phenomenal. And I want to thank you so much, Mr. Harpur, for coming on board, for sharing your music with us.
Yes. A real pleasure. I mean, this is, like I said earlier when we were talking before, this is the really good side of social media and being able to speak to people thousands and thousands of miles away and take part in something like this. So, I mean, to you, thank you so much for having me on. I've really, really enjoyed it.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you so much, Nigel. And we'll hopefully have you back on the show for the second album, even if it is a year or two. It's going to be worth it.
I'll need some extra bottles of hot sauce.
Yes, sir. Hey, by then we might have sponsorships going, so let's keep it going both ways.
Okay, thank you so much, Charles. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, sir. Same here. Thank you so much, Nigel.